Hello everyone, James Williams, Director of Programs with MEF, back with you. Now I'm going to be spending the next 600 seconds or so, who's counting, with Suzy Menneret, who manages everything wholesale related with MEF. So Suzy, hi.
Hi, James. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So, Suzy, you've got a long track record. Sorry, was that long? Too long? A long track record in the world of wholesale.
I sound old. I sound old when you say this.
I'm older.
Okay, that's
Let's
really
not fight over this. I've got even longer track record, I think, in certain areas, particularly with SMS. But hey, that's a different story because there's more to life than SMS, isn't there? You coming predominantly from the voice world, I think, with Deutsche Telekom before. Let's tell your audience, which is my audience as well here, a bit more about yourself, Suzy, what you were doing before and what you're up to with MEF.
So, prior to this, I have a long-standing, well, I've had almost all my career based in telecommunications, not always in wholesale. I worked in the enterprise side of the business in the very old days of X25 and ISDN, and so that tells you my age. But more recently, a lot of time spent with one of your nice contributors, Deutsche Telekom, in a variety of roles, but mainly on the strategy side, and obviously, having an insight into many of the different segments of the industry, be it voice, mobile, IP, and high capacity as well. So there, and also knowing spent quite a bit of time with the industry forums, so got to get more work closer with the i3 forum, with the GLF. So quite eager to discuss some of those topics. I've heard some of them this morning, and eager to carry on the discussion with some of them later on this afternoon.
Fantastic, but there's more to life than just fraud. But of course, anti-fraud consumer trust is such a major important part of what we as MEF have done as an organization for our 20-year history. But it's really about market development and growth. And that's one of the key things that our wholesale group is about, isn't it?
Yeah, so market development, and what I do find extremely interesting as well, and you can see it from the poll that is currently live, is the really the transition and the transformation in which the industry is. I mean, we've been talking about transformation of the wholesale industry for years, as Isabel was saying earlier this morning, but we can see that some of those topics are coming back on the, they are very hot on the agenda. Those new business models, obviously, a lot of the things that we are discussing in this round, be it IoT, be it 5G, represent a lot of opportunities, but that's also going to change the rule of the game. And how does a wholesale player adapt to that new game, and what kind of changes that they need to adopt, what kind of efficiencies they need to embrace, and how do they tap into those opportunities or areas which are absolutely fundamental in that industry. And we'll be very happy to discuss these as well in our wholesale forums and provide more insights into those business models.
I think it's important to say that we give wholesale a real amount of priority here, because wholesale is one of our 6, if you want to call it, product lines within MEF. So it's very, very defined product line, and Suzy is leading the charge on that. One thing I have to admit, that until about probably 5 or 6 years ago, I hadn't worked in the wholesale side of things much at all. And I was very much of the mindset that, hey, wholesale, it's all about SMS, number of SMS messages and number of voice minutes. And basically that's about it. But I think it's safe to say that certainly from what you were doing yesterday in your virtualization in the world of voice sessions, we had Ignacio with 5G, we had Andrew on the IoT side of things. Of course, I had to talk about SMS as well yesterday, forced upon me, and I did that. And roaming with Isabel. Wholesale is about far more, isn't it?
It's it is obviously it encompasses a large spectrum of things. Obviously, I mean, wholesale was built first upon voice, and voice is in its own right has a place to it still has a place to for all of the carriers, and we should focus on this. But as you said, it goes far beyond this. connectivity. We don't touch IP, but there's also a lot to do with IP and content delivery. There's mobile, there's etc. etc. So yeah, it's an exciting environment. It's a little bit of a small family as well, which makes it very, very it's almost an emotional touch to be in this environment, because everybody almost know each other. So we all want to be this environment to grow. We all want it. We want to cherish it. Hence the importance of forums and organizations like MEF, like R3 Forum, and the others that we've been talking about. But yes, it's a small world, but it's a large spectrum.
Yeah, I think I must add, though, that within MEF and the wholesale group, we're not just talking about the MTN Global Connects, the DTs, the Oranges of the world being members there. Anyone is welcome to come along and partake.
Absolutely.
And I think I look back at, I keep saying this, but our digital transformation event, where we merged the worlds of personal data and identity, payments, messaging all together in those 3 days of what was a fantastic event with over 1,000 people there. And that really got me thinking and realizing, hey, there really is more to life than SMS. Absolutely. And ultimately, though, what we decide, what we do is driven by our members within the working group. And it's safe to say that members do like talking about SMS and voice a lot, although of course there are many other different areas there. Now, that's our wholesale working group. How often do you meet, Suzy?
So we do meet on a monthly basis. We try to have a regular date. So we started, it's a pretty new initiative, by the way. We really started back in March this year. So as said yesterday, we focused on specific topics that were core, question marks, and requests from the membership base, as you mentioned. So first was RCS Hub, then we started looking at roaming. We're still looking at roaming, as you've heard many analysts showing insights during those 2 days. This will still be a bit of a focus. The next call will be on the 15th of October. And we aim at doing this on the Friday. Moving on, we presume that quite a few people may have a bit more time as well to spend on Fridays or end of the week, rather than being in the rush of the business during the week as well, which will probably help. And we obviously welcome any topics that we may be, not addressing straight away, but our call to the members, we will be addressing them in our monthly calls.
Fantastic, Suzy. And it leaves me now, I've just got about 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds of the 600 we had at the beginning.
Yeah, you've got
left. It goes fast, doesn't it, this time?
It does.
When you're live online, it goes fast. We've done 8.5 minutes. I'm going to give now an absolutely unabashed, shameless plug of our MEF Connects omni-channel event, which is coming up with you live in person. But as you can see in the banner flashing across, it's not flashing, it's there on the screen. It's also a hybrid event, which means it's going to be shown online live around the world as well. We hope to have a couple of hundred people at least in London. The location and more details will be provided. But for now, if you'd like to attend and be there in person, please do express your interest now. You'll find that in on the Mobile Ecosystem Forum website, in the events section, you'll see an event page has been created for that. So please express your interest now, because there are going to be a lot of people interested. And even though we've just started to publicize it, basically really today, at the event, we have a ton of interest. In fact, most of the sessions are already sponsored. So it's lining up to be a fantastic event. And I, for one, and indeed, following a fantastic MEF meetup in person in London last week at level 39, where we had 75 people from around the payments and the messaging industries in particular there is a real demand for in-person events. So I look forward to getting back out there and actually seeing many of you for the first time for real in London. And yes, I do have legs. There's more than just this part of the body for James and indeed Suzy and so many of the MEF teams. But Suzy, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, and talk to you later.
Absolutely. And next up, we're going to be having Mr. Tim Warden, ex Connect, but I'll be back with you soon. Thank you.